Hi fellow pickers, welcome to a lesson on my version of Leroy Carr's Papas on the Housetop. We're in a special tuning this time. Actually it's like a drop D tuning but half step lower because I cannot sing it in D, and so I went half step lower, and this is what we have. The sixth string is a C sharp. This is the fifth, G sharp, then we have C sharp again, the third string is F sharp, the second string is B flat, or A sharp, and here we have a D sharp. So I still call these strings as I wouldn't have detuned them, so I call this an E string, knowing that it's not an E string now, and this is the B string, and so on, okay? So we start with the intro, and this is what I play here. I have an alternating bass, 6th and 4th string, and I start with the 9th fret of the G string and the 8th fret of the E string, and then I go down to 7 on G string and E string, and then here we bring this back to 5. Okay, so these are 3 6s. These are the 3 6s here in the first bar. All on top of this alternating bass. Okay, again. And in the transition to the next bar, I play an open G, which actually is a wrong note because it doesn't belong to the D chord. I still play it because I find it makes the transition a lot easier. If I stayed on the right correct note, then I would have some stress to get back to this position, and so I play this note here very discreetly, and nobody will be disturbed by this note. I call these notes cheating notes or transition notes. I think you agree that this note doesn't disturb. Okay, so we play this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And a 4th time. But here, instead of the cheating note, we play this G7th position here, which is 3rd fret of the D string and 1st fret of the E string, and we play this as a syncopation. It means before we play the bass note. Okay, so these are the first 4 bars, again very slowly. This would be the start of bar number 5. Okay, before we move on, I want to say that sometimes I play some rhythmical variations, like this syncopation here. Here play this first note before I play the bass, and I give a slight emphasis on this note, and this is what we call a syncopation. these syncopations you can bring some variety into your playing. And I think I played the solo twice in the performance video, and if you compare these two solos you probably will see that they're not completely the same. Then we move on and we come to the next chord, which is G7th, and we ended up here in this position, 3rd fret on the B string and 1st fret on the E string. And actually, if I play the bass note with it, it sounds like a D minor, but it's not, because if I played the proper bass here, you could hear it's G7th. We cannot do this. This is too difficult to get there. And the D note belongs to the G7th chord, so it's not a wrong note. It's only if I play it isolated that it sounds like, it might sound like D minor. Then this is the next note here. 2 open strings, 4th and 1st string, plus the 1st fret of the B string. Now we come to the proper G7th chord. What we need is a bar chord over 4 strings, or I play it mostly over 5 strings because it's a little comfortable for my hand. Plus the 4th fret of the G string and the 5th fret of the low string. So this is the ending of this bar. And then almost the same, this time without the syncopation. With syncopation, without syncopation. Of course, you also can change this and insert another syncopation if you like. And then we come back to where we came from, okay? So I played from the beginning. Faster. Okay, now we come to this A7th chord. This is a bar chord over 4 strings in the 5th fret, plus the middle finger in the 6th fret of the G string. Again, we start with a syncopation. And to play this melody we need 2 additional fingers here, which is the pinky in the 8th fret of the B string and the middle finger in the 7th fret of the B string. Then we release the middle finger again and play the 5th fret, which is held by the bar chord finger. So what we do is this again: 8, 7 and 5, all on top of our alternating bass, which is on 5th and 4th string this time. And in the next bar we stop the alternating bass and keep playing the A string. Okay. This is the beginning of the bar. Again, we start with the last note of the old bar, so bar number 9, a syncopation, bass note, and then we come to 7, 7 here on the 3rd and 1st string. 7 and 7. We bring this up to 8 and 9. Okay, all on top of the steady A bass. And together with bar number 9, it's that. I'm sorry. And we end up in the 10th fret with our pinky here, first string, and switch to the D note here on the 6th string. So again, the whole A7th bars. Repeat this note and add these two fingers, so middle finger and ring finger, to the same fret, 10th fret, on D string and B string. And this is the first chord of this turnaround. Then we bring this finger back to the 9th fret and add the index finger to the 8th fret of the B string. So this is, and now we only change the position here. We swap the positions and have the 3rd note. Okay, so this is the first 10 10, then 9 8 10, and now 8 9 10. And we end up in this bar chord here, so a D chord. This is bar chord over 4 strings in the 7th fret, and we still have the pinky here on the 10th fret. Then after having played this little cheating note here, or cheating double stop in this case, very discreetly, we end up in this A7th chord where we have some strummings. Okay, so I play directly from here. And this is the ending of the intro. So I play from the last note of bar number 8. Again, a little faster. Chord at the ending here, so I played it as a normal A chord, but actually I leave this finger away and have this A7th. Okay, and now the whole intro. Let's now come to verse and chorus. In the first 4 bars we have this chord shape here. This is a D7th, D string 4th fret, G string 5th, and B string 3rd fret. And our first trick here is this hammering in combination with a bass note. So the hammering is on the B string from 3 to 5 with the pinky. When we hit the 5th fret at the same time, we play the bass note. Sounds we release the pinky again and come back to this double stop. Then we have 3 single notes, and what I then mostly do is I play an open G string, so I release the whole chord and hammer on the whole chord, again in combination with the next bass note, which will be the low string here, and in combination with all the other notes. This is and I play this 4 times. Mama made Papa be quiet as a mouse, so Papa climbed out top of the house. What I also sometimes do, I don't play this whole, the hammering of the whole chord, but I stay on the chord and do the same thing twice. This is what you also could do. Mama made Papa be quiet as a mouse, Papa climbed out on top of the house. Okay? Or you do a combination of both things. Okay. Then we come to the next 2 bars, and they're actually in G chord or G7th. And what we have is this move in, this walk-in bass here, and we have A string 2, 1, 2, then D string open. This would be the first bar. And in the second bar we have D string 3, 2, 0, and come back to the 2nd fret of the A string. So this is very easy. Made a lot of whoopee, made a lot of noise. And then we come to the A7th chord. And this is in the 5th position, so we have D string 5, G string 6, B string 5. Stood up and cheered with the rest of the... And here in the last bar of this line we have 5 and 3 on the low string, and in between we have this open G note here. Stood up and cheered with the rest of the boys. And boys, here we have a chop or muted chop when we come back to this D7th chord. Again from this G run here. Made a lot of whooping, made a lot of noise. Stood up and cheered with the rest of the boys. Actually, it's half muted, as I said before. So from the beginning, and this is the verse. Then we come to the chorus. This is where we always sing Babies in the Cradle, Brothers Gone to Town, and so on. And here we also play these 2 notes, but we have this fingering now. So we have the 5th fret, we have the pinky for the 5th fret on the G string, and the middle finger for the 3rd fret of the B string. So this is the fingering, and here we have this boogie woogie thing here in the bass, which is open 6th string 4th fret. Then we switch to the A string and play open and 2nd, and we do this 4 times. Okay. had in the verse when we come to the second line. Mama's in the kitchen, messing all around. Same A7th. Papa's on the housetop and he won't come down. So the second line of the chorus is the same as the second line of the verse. So the whole chorus. Baby's in the cradle, brother's gone to town, sister's in the parlor trying on a gown. Mama's in the kitchen, she's messing all around. Papa's on the housetop and it won't come down. Now we come to the solo, and in the solo we start with an upbeat, which is here in the 3rd fret of the D string, and we play this note with the index finger of the right hand, although it's on a bass string. I mark these notes with an I for index finger on D string, and after we play this note we have a combination of a hammering and a bass note again, like that. The hammering is from 3 to 4 on the D string, played with the ring finger. Okay, and then we have the next combination of hammering and bass note. This time the bass note is the 4th string, and the hammering is on the G string from 2 to 4. Again, it's the ring finger that's hammering. Again. And then we need the 2nd finger, the middle finger, for the 3rd fret of the B string. And this is the first bar. Then we have almost the same. But this time we don't repeat this D note here on the B string. And then same beginning, but here we continue with a row of thirds, and this begins with the 3rd fret of the B string and the 2nd fret of the 1st string, with middle and index finger. Then we bring up the index finger from 2 to 3 and add the 3rd finger to the 5th fret of the B string. And then we move this from 3rd to the 4th and then to the 5th position. From the end of bar number 2 of the solo, and at the end we just have a muted chop. So this is the first line of the solo. I play it from the beginning. Okay, the next bar of the solo, I use this G7th chord. This is like a D7th chord, but brought up to the 6th position. In the next bar, this rhythm doesn't really matter. We have another G7th chord, and this time we're in the 10th fret of the G string, 8th fret of the B string, and 10th fret of the 1st string. Okay, so I mostly slide into this first G7th chord, by the way. Something like that. And then we start like we did at the very beginning of the solo. And then we have this 3-5-3 on the B string, and I leave my third finger where it is. And then we have the 5th fret again. The first time when I play the 5th fret here in the last bar, I give it a bending. And then I release the bending again. And then we come back to 3. Okay, so this is now we slide into this A7th chord. We slide from the 3rd position to the 5th position. By the way, this is 5, 6 and 5 here on D string, G string, B string, 5, 6, 5. And the slide is on the G string, so from 4 to 6. And the slide is in combination with a bass note again, so like that, okay? Then we bring this up to the 6th position and come back to the 5th position. Same ending as in the intro. And now the whole solo. Finally, let's have a look at the ending. This is just like in the solo, the last line, the beginning of the last line. And then we have the same combinations of hammerings and bass notes. And here we stop with the alternating bass and mute the bass. And play this line here without any bass. Okay, and this line is 5, 4, 3 and 2 on the first string, and between 5 and 4 we have a pull off. Then we have 3 on the B string, then 4 on the B string, on the G string, and come back to this 3rd fret of the B string, and then a thumb arpeggio with our D7th chord. folks, that's it for this lesson. This was my version of Papa's on the Housetop by Leroy Carr. I hope you found this lesson useful, and as always I would be glad if you welcomed me back soon for another lesson, and in the meantime take care and have fun. Thanks for watching. Bye bye folks.